All right, welcome back, everyone. We're back with another round of the NESPA SC2 Open that took place last November with a match between oMgZues, you might know him. He also does a lot of casting for NESPA, against Roachgelion, a player from Kansas. And so without further ado, we're going to go straight into this game. And right now you can see we have oMgZues as the purple Terran in the bottom position on MLG Antigua Shipyard, facing off against Roachgelion as the orange Zerg in the top position. Now this is MLG, and I'm going to say this a million times throughout the casting of this tournament, but on the MLG version of this map, it forces the cross spawn positions, and so both players should be aware of this. They shouldn't go and scout the other positions, but that's not the big issue. The big issue is that it means that both players have a lot of breathing room to do a more macro-oriented sort of build. It takes a long time for units to travel across this map and reach the opponent. So I wouldn't be surprised to see even a hatch first build out of Roachgelion here if he wanted to, but it looks like he's trying something a little different. Going to do the extractor trick to get to 11 of 10. He might be doing the 11 pool 18 hatch opener, which is actually, there have been some posts on Team Liquid showing that it can be one of the more economic builds. You get a very early queen out with that. So we do see him actually not opting for that, though. He's going to go ahead and go with 3 lings right away. So maybe not the most efficient way to open, but who am I to judge? This is Roachgelion, and he's doing what he wants to do. Meanwhile, down here we have oMgZues, also our caster for NESPA. He's playing in this tournament, and I'll be playing in the next one. We take turns since we have to do a lot of the casting for these tournaments. But he's down here and he's doing something pretty standard. It looks like just barracks, then gas. It'll be a moment before we see what he actually goes with. We do have a hatch first coming down right now for Roachgelion, and then opting for gas even before pool. So probably going to be going for some speedlings shortly after he gets this hatch finished. And there's the pool right now. So wouldn't be surprised to see guys going gas immediately, and like I said, have speed started as soon as that pool's done. And meanwhile, down in Zeus camp, we do have Roachgelion getting in here, getting good intel right now. Going to do a bit of harassment, chipping away at those SCVs. That's always annoying to deal with, almost as annoying as when they pick off your workers that are trying to build things. So Zeus is going to go ahead and put some guys on that drone right now. Zeus also in the main of Roachgelion, getting some pretty good intel, seeing that pool is about to finish, seeing the gas. He should know that speedlings are on their way. He has seen the hatch first, so he's probably feeling pretty safe for the time being. It's going to be a moment before we see what his tech decision is here. He's kind of taking a little while to reveal it to us. I do know that he's a big fan of one-rack's expansion builds, but he hasn't thrown down a tech lab, so he's not doing like a Reaper expand or anything. I'm kind of curious what all this gas is going to go to, and we'll just have to wait and find out. I'm going to poke out with 1 Marine and just be a little annoying. This really isn't a threat at all. Just being annoying, picking off OVs and just getting some intel. He does see a couple of lings have popped out. So actually not too bad trade for some decent intel there. Roachgelion has taken most of his guys off gas. He's going to continue to focus on droning up for the time being to get a few lings out to establish some control. And in the meantime, it looks like Zeus doing the ever popular reactor Hellion opener. I'm still curious why he's continuing to get gas right now, and his minerals are getting pretty high. He's throwing down, there we go, a command center. Excuse me. And we do see the add-on swap right now, and Hellions will start to pop out 2 at a time. In the meantime, Queen's in production right now for Roachgelion, continuing to drone up income, getting pretty far ahead, 22 to 18 in the worker count. Going back to Zeus's base, we do have a couple lings out here poking the ramp. This Marine is not going to be able to get away. It's really unfortunate he kind of went out a little preemptive with those Marines. We do have Hellions out now, though. They're going to be able to take control back from these lings. And the lings are getting some pretty good intel there, though, as we do see 3 Evo chambers go down and 2 spine crawlers. This is a very interesting decision. Now, The reason he's doing this is to control the space so that the Hellions can't get in here and they have to come around this way. I don't necessarily like the positioning of this, just because the Hellions, once they do get past these spines, are free to run about all throughout the main. He's getting a Roach Warren down as well, so kind of an overreaction to these Hellions, and maybe not the best placement. Also, the 3 Evo Chambers is maybe a bit excessive, because he's probably not going to be able to use all 3 of those later, and you like to be able to put down something that you're going to be able to put to use later anyway. These Hellions going to be forced to pull back, seeing the 3 Evo Chambers. I'm sure oMgZues is scratching his head a little bit, thinking, oh wow, what do I do now? These Hellions are probably not going to get in and do a whole lot of harassment. That being said, his expansion is done. He's going to get a couple more SCVs out with that before he lifts it off and sends it down to his natural and secures it. He needs to fly a couple of those buildings down as well to close off space himself. But in the meantime, we do have a lair going down, second gas getting taken right now for Roachgelion, and a third. So, and a 4, no, just 3. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of roaches come out. You can support roaches off of two bases, and 3 gas is about right to crank out as many roaches as you possibly can. These Hellions going to poke in, get pushed back a little bit by these Lings. Lings, though, however, are going to have to pull back for cover, as this many Hellions can take that many Lings without too much trouble. These spine crawlers are going to pose a bit of a problem for oMgZues in terms of getting in there. Would like to see him just try to run around the side, but we'll have to see what he ends up deciding to do here. He's actually going to switch out of Hellions into Tank Marine, it looks like, and I like this decision. He has basically light contained Roachgelion in his base for the time being until these roaches come out. And by the time they are out in some significant numbers and able to push back at oMgZues, he should have a good number of tanks with siege tech out, and that will actually wreck a good number of roaches if he plays this right. Feeling kind of vulnerable here at the front. Would like to see maybe some bunkers or something go down to tighten that up, as Terran does want to fight in chokes, but pardon me for a moment. These Lings are going to get out. Creep is spread out the front. These Lings are going to go ahead and poke, but they see that the Hellions do have the speed advantage still once they get off creep, so he's going to be forced to kind of still play defensive until he has more roaches out, and roach speed, as you can see, has been started. I wouldn't be surprised to see him start pushing with a good number of roaches as soon as that's done. Seeing him throw down a couple more spine crawlers just to feel a little bit safer when he decides to push out of his base. He's going to go ahead and chase these Hellions off. In the meantime, tanks and Marines coming out for oMgZues. 4 Marines at a time right now. We do have double upgrades, range and carapace getting started here for Roachgelion. oMgZues slightly ahead in supply. Both players slightly supply blocked right now. So that's going to cut into their production for a little bit. These Hellions forced to do a little bit of micro. The roaches are moving out now. Speed is just about done. Here we have more Hellions coming up to reinforce. These Hellions need to pull back. A lot of them have been weakened by the Lings, and he's going to need those to support his Tank Marine army that's pushing out right now, that I do not believe that Roachgelion is aware of at all. So he may be a little bit surprised when these tanks show up at his doorstep, and I'll be curious if he's going to be able to hold this off, but he does have 12 roaches popping out right now. He's moving these spines down at just about the right time right now. These tanks are going to be forced to siege pretty far back, and this many roaches actually going to be really hard to deal with for oMgZues, but these tanks are able to get several great hits off. The roaches are actually going to try to run around and possibly come from behind, or they're just going to go for a counter. Now they're going to come around here from behind. Oh, but the tanks are on siege, and they're going to get picked off one at a time right here. This is actually a really bad situation for oMgZues, getting caught with his tanks on siege. But he does clean up all those roaches without losing only one tank, and he does have more tanks streaming out in the time being. Now we're seeing Roachgelion make a lot more Lings, and these tanks again getting caught out of siege, and now these Lings are going to make things even trickier for these tanks. But the Marine's going to be able to clean most of that up, but he is losing tanks here and there, and that's actually going to be a problem as this continues, because he has to push his way through these spines. Oh, and getting a little too far forward with his Marines and tanks. This tank is in range of the poking from these spine crawlers, but the spine crawlers is forced to unroot and move up. These Marines getting a little far ahead of their tank support, so he needs to be a little careful, be ready to run them back. Do have a lot of Lings and drones actually getting thrown in that control group by accident. Tank's going to be able to pick off a lot of this. We have reinforcements back here that are not quite getting into the fight. And here we go. We have a huge engagement. Have the Marines fighting a lot of drones right now, and these Lings taking out the tanks. And with all the drones in this fray, he's actually going to be able to clean this all up. And if he doesn't fix his rallies here soon, he's actually going to be really, really upset with himself. Because here we have a we have a Roach Ling push coming back. This tank going to get caught out pretty far forward. These Roaches probably going to take it out. Oh, not a good decision to siege it up right in front there. But this tank actually going to be able to take out a lot of the Roaches while the Marines push forward and forcing Roachgelion to pull back. In the meantime, tanks, a little lapse in production for the moment for Zeus. That's going to cost him quite a bit. He needs to get those tanks and Marines in production again. Seeing a macro hatch go down for Roachgelion, continuing to make tons and tons of Roaches. As we've seen, Roaches not particularly good against tanks, but if he's able to get substantial numbers of them, he'll actually be able to overwhelm the amount of tanks and Marines that are fighting here for Zeus. These Marines getting a little far forward again. Tank's going to be able to take out these Roaches without any problem. Putting pressure back on Roachgelion is Zeus. I really like this decision. He needs to creep these tanks up further forward so they're actually more of a threat. Try to get them, up here, almost onto the high ground for a bit. Lots of scans going down, forcing those Roaches all the way into the main is Zeus. And the Marines and tanks able to shell away now at these spine crawlers. In a moment, we have these Mutalisks out now, so it's going to be Muta Roach, and this actually is not looking good for Zeus because these Mutalisks are going to come out and pick off a lot of tanks. Not looking very good. If he gets these Mutalisks to pick off any number of tanks, he'll be looking pretty good. And I'm just kind of rambling right now, I apologize. Here come the Mutalisks from behind, going to try to pick off these tanks, which are unprotected. The Marines have to pull back and try to push them off, but there just aren't that many Marines left anymore, and these tanks are all going to go down to the Mutas and Roaches that have just swarmed the front of Roachgelion's space. A very, very solid defense there by Roachgelion, definitely under the gun due to all the pressure that Zeus has been putting out, and now Zeus is in a very tough spot. He does not have the Marine production that he needs. I do not think he has Stim. Now Stim is only about a third of the way done. All these tanks can get picked off, and this many Mutalisks is actually exceptionally hard to deal with if you don't have Stim and Combat Shield. He does not have any missile turrets up either, so these mutas could get into the main and wreak a lot of havoc. Now, as I say that, I look like a complete idiot because there are missile turrets up in the main and the natural and the mineral line, but they haven't been there for very long. So that's going to secure at least the mineral lines of both base, but yeah, he needs to get missile turrets up here around production to not have his production get camped, and he needs to get a lot more Marines out right now. As we're seeing another barracks go down, another command center, we probably needs a few more barracks out actually, and needs to start that combat shield upgrade as well. Now we do see Roachgelion opting to take the gold as his third right now, kind of behind in bases of where he would like to be. By this point you'd like to at least have 3 bases, if not 4, and he's feeling, there we go, we see him taking his 4th as well. Roaches and Mutas just kind of chilling here in the middle, keeping that watchtower secure. In the meantime, Zeus cranking out more tanks, more Marines. Would like to see maybe some medevac production to support this, allow him to do some harassment and drops. But Zeus needs to start putting pressure back on here soon, or else he's not going to be able to keep up with this macro style that Roachgelion is starting to shift into. He's going to start making a lot more units here in a bit, making mostly Lings and Mutas now, having transitioned out of Roaches, it looks like, predominantly, getting an infestation pit as well, which is going to allow him to get his hive and start Broodlord production here fairly soon. Especially once these bases are up and running, he's going to need all that gas to support any kind of late game tech-based army. And here we have Zeus moving out, tanks and Marines again, quite a few Marines, good number of tanks. Does he know that this army is just up here waiting for him? Roachgelion has seen this push. He's going to pull back his Mutas and his Lings, but as I say, that several Mutas not in the control group do get picked off, and the Lings. Roach is going to pull back. Zeus needs to siege up right here, and he's going to do so. And this many Marines is going to be very hard to deal with, but there are Mutas, there are Roaches. These Roaches are just getting torn about, torn apart by the tanks. Oh, but just not enough Marines and too many Roaches and Mutas to deal with. These Roaches are going to clean up everything, and that may be the last major battle that we see in this game. Some more tanks back home getting sieged up. Roachgelion going to continue to play passive here, secure his bases, and then make a push again. He did lose a large portion of his army there to the tank fire. Mostly Roaches, lost most of his Mutas as well. Wasn't necessarily the best engagement for him, but he did absolutely crush that push from doing any serious damage to his economy. And so he's looking in great shape. This is going to be very annoying for Zeus. This Overlord has been blocking what would be his third for a while now, and he's going to have to wait for all this creep to pull off. And here we have the Roaches moving in here, going to pick off all these Marines that are trying to clear off this base, and that's going to be really, really annoying. I wouldn't be surprised to see Zeus GG here very soon, knowing his opponent has taken the gold and possibly has another base and not going to be able to secure this, probably going to lose that expansion. Zeus sieging up pretty far back, going to try to save this base with these Marines, being very, very, very cautious. One Marauder in the mix, so it looks like he may be doing a Marauder switch, which is a very good decision here. He needs a little bit more firepower to deal with these Roaches. I'm really impressed with Roachgelion having stuck into this game in a situation that was looking very difficult for him. Is going to be able to crush this push. Oh, maybe not. He's going to probably lose a lot of these Roaches to the tanks and the Marauders here. A few more Mutas coming to reinforce are going to probably come down. And actually, no more anti-air here for Zeus, so those Mutas could continue on. Oh, and there's a few more Marines reinforcing just as I say that. Seeing some very interesting army trades going on right now for both players. I definitely have to say that these are definitely coming out in Roachgelion's favor. As a Zerg player, you definitely want to trade armies as cost efficiently as you can. That is, if you can trade armies efficiently against Terran, that is definitely very much in your favor, because of the way that Zerg production operates, you're able to remake that army a lot faster, and it's also typically a lot cheaper than the Terran counterpart as well. So losing all those tanks in particular is a huge, huge blow for Zeus. Now we have all these Roaches and Mutas and Lings taking out these rocks, deciding not to for a bit there, just taking out the rocks into third. They're going to go in and deny this third once again. These SCVs just barely finish long distance mining here, and Zeus kind of not really responding to this in time. He's going to lose that command center, unfortunately, and that really puts him in a hard place. As we can see, he is mined out in his main. He is going to be mined out in his natural very quickly here, very oversaturated there. In fact, if we look at the income tab, players about even in minerals for now, despite the fact that Zeus is actually way ahead in harvesters, but the gas production for Roachgelion just far exceeds that of Zeus. So basically that means Zeus can only really make Marines, and that's not going to be able to really win this for him at this point in the game. These Mutas going to come in here into the main. I'm not quite sure what they're hoping to accomplish. This main is mined out, and Zeus, sensing that this is his last chance of taking all his SCVs with him, he's going to go ahead here and push into the gold. We do have a good number of Roaches here, though, and some reinforcements as well. They're going to actually wait, and I'm not entirely sure what Roachgelion is doing. I guess he just decided he's just going to lose that base. He doesn't really need it anymore. Remake one over here and pull back and defend against this very large Terran army. And here is the big final confrontation. I said there wasn't going to be another major battle, but I was clearly wrong. We got tanks, we got Marines, and we got a GG right there. Not going to be enough for Zeus to take this game. So we'll be back with game 2 here in a moment. Thanks for watching, and stick around.